Something about Starcom Unknown Space stood out and made me break my general rule of avoiding 2D or top-down games. Now after completing it, do I regret it? Stick around and find out. Good day to you my friends, I'm Kenator, and in my reviews I try to keep spoilers to an absolute minimum and give you my honest thoughts. Big thanks to the devs for providing the game key for this review, and all review time was spent on the beta branch in the week before launch. Firstly, what made this game stand out for me? Well, it doesn't look a complete mess for starters. I get offered a lot of 2D games for review, and let me tell you, the market is oversaturated with bad games with bad art, bringing nothing new to the table. So when I checked out Starcom Unknown Space, I was pleasantly to find high quality visuals, and a bigger focus on story and not over the top combat. And finally, not using a square grid to build the ship on. So I gave it a go. Now did it deliver on these? Absolutely, and more too. But did it deliver well? Not so much for me, but your mileage may vary. So, within the first 3 minutes of playing the game, I had unknowingly found a keyboard shortcut to hide the UI. And this button is right next to the auto turret fire button. And with the starter ship having turrets, well, you're gonna need that button. And so with the story pop-ups and menu usage and it happening so quickly, I just didn't notice. And mostly because the other UI elements, like icons for nearby planets, still worked. So there I am playing through, making notes about how the HP system is unclear and how the game doesn't tell you what you're picking up. Essentially playing blind, not knowing how close to death I was in any of the fights, until about 5 hours later, when I accidentally hit this key again, and the left side of my screen lights up like a Christmas tree, trying to show me everything I've missed. Now, while not noticing is on me, the stupid default key bindings is not. Hide UI is normally the tilde key, or an F key, or a combo of control and another key, for this bloody reason. This huge snafu aside, the intro to the game will definitely get you hooked. You and your ragtag crew are cut off from help, supplies, stranded in a new place filled with systems to explore, new challenges to face. It does a good job of explaining how to explore this new universe, either via the hard way of manually flying between systems, or the easy way in slingers, which are fixed super speed highways between two systems, or warp gates which can connect two spots at any distance. At first, the systems you're exploring are pretty closely clustered, and you might want to give in to the urge to explore the unknown early. Well, I did, and I was rewarded for my trouble with finding my first wrecked ship. I give it a quick search, and then very shortly after, blow it up for a few extra resources. This feedback loop was reinforced multiple times with finding all sorts of things, most of which I can't show due to spoiler reasons, but the problem here is that I think I got lucky, like a lot lucky with my exploring, because there are huge areas of the map which are just straight up empty, and finding this empty space can be punishing in terms of time wasted, especially earlier on when you've got a slightly slower ship. But not as punishing as the areas of extraordinarily slow space that I found. And by slow, these areas slow you down to a crawl. Now some people might take the hint and think, oh, I guess this is the edge of the map. Or maybe I'm just not supposed to go this way. But exploring is part of the game, no? Maybe it's like a challenge. And I'd already been rewarded so much for exploring before. And like many a curious gamer, I really wanted to know what was hiding in this area. So I pushed through, and not only do I find things, I came out the other side to find normal space again. It took hours, but I did it. But did I find a secret area? No! I just found content I was way too early for, and after feeling rewarded so much for exploring, this was just a bit of a kick in the balls. So fine, I'll go back and I'll do some more of the main and side quests. But wait, you weren't expecting quest tracking, were you? Because this game only has that about 5% of the time for the main story. The game expects you to take notes, lots of notes. And there's even a tool to do it on the map, which I don't remember ever being told about by the game. And it's around the 15-hour mark, about halfway through the game, and I'm trying for the 100th time to figure out where the hell I'm supposed to go, because there's a tooltip saying click for a map marker that doesn't actually give me anything, that I realise it's actually a puzzle game in disguise. Like an old school RPG. There is one saving grace though: if you didn't take notes, all the past dialogue that your crew has had is even searchable, as long as you know what you're looking for, that is. And speaking of old school RPGs, I even found one location that had a kind of choose your own adventure style exploring section to it. But managing to complete this game without taking any notes took far too long, which is compounded by the very long flight times between systems with no warp gates, or just retracing your own steps all over this huge map. Thankfully, the auto-pathing is fantastic. It will pick an optimal route using both the gates and slingers to get you where you need to go quickly, and completely auto-flying your ship for you. And it only slammed me into another ship maybe 2 or 3 times through the whole game. And this can let you sit back and enjoy the gorgeous planets that you fly past, or keep an eye out for enemy ships or other surprises. On the shipbuilding side, I did quite like it. Being hex-based means no box ships for starters. But after being told about a feature about how wide your ship is affects how fast you can go between systems, my ships all took on a manta ray shape more and more. And there is a ton of different equipment you can use on your ships, from the various weapon systems, scanners, power cores, batteries, shields, fighter bays. So if you really love experimenting, you will absolutely love this. But first, you will need to research all of these new devices. And before you can research them, well, you're also going to need to find examples of them. And this can feel hyper restrictive at times, and can also be slowed down by the RNG of the enemy drops. On top of that, for me at least, I found there was not enough research in the game to unlock everything, which can add to endgame frustration. The other limiting factor in ship design is of course the resources you need to build one. Now you can trade with other races through ships and planetary locations, and you can regularly farm certain areas of space with debris or asteroids, or even specific enemies if you know that they drop something. But some things you just can't farm reliably, and you do have to trade for them, which can make upgrading to a new ship class a bit artificially grindy, as you try to trade other things to afford the things that you need. The different ship classes do allow for an increased part count in your ship, so generally equate to quite a big jump in combat power if you can max out the part count. But outside the limitations of research and resources, there is really no incentive to unlock and equip the new weapons. For the whole game, I just stuck with the plasma turrets. They always worked well for me, for anything I came up against, and let me focus on the flying and positioning my ship. I kind of regret not trying other styles of play, but I often find if something works, don't try to fix it. That, and I wanted to avoid further resource grinding. For example, gold is primarily used in your engines, and you will want all the speed you can get your hands on. So much so, I had single digits of it left when I completed the game. But it's also used in at least the fighter bay, which for me at least made these fighters completely unattractive. For the story, I won't comment on specifics due to spoilers, but I did find it somewhat lacking and a little predictable. It also takes up very little of the map in terms of specific locations, which leaves mostly side quests and planet scanning filling out the majority of locations. Planetary scanning is important, however, as many planets have things to find, which sometimes is just a comment from the crew and some research points, or it can be an event that requires a choice or a random skill check. These will mostly become a primary source of your research points and materials. In addition to this, once the system is fully scanned, this can give you a nice speed bonus in and around that system, which makes finding and completing all of these systems highly desirable. It's just a shame it really suffers from very noticeable repetition. Find new system, scan all planets, do mini side quests, move on to new system. Performance wise, you'll be happy to hear that I had no slowdowns and no crashes or bugs that I can identify, which is bang on what you would expect from a 1.0 release. The main problem with the game for me is that the more you play it, the more the game comes to a crawl. There is so much flying around with not a lot happening, and this made up, I would estimate, probably half of my 30-hour playtime. Add to this the awful way quests attract, and it becomes something I would really struggle to recommend to anybody. But these type of games are very much their own niche, and are generally built for that specific audience. And you can clearly see on Steam that this game has been well received during its early access period by said specific audience. The problem comes when you're not maybe into one of these games and you pick it up because you love sci-fi or love spaceships. Then it might not rate so highly if you don't know what you're getting into. I'm still hopeful that a few more quality of life changes can come after launch that could possibly address some of the points I've made in this review, and I wish them all the luck for it in the future. So I hope you found this review useful, and I will see you guys in the next one. Kenator, out.